right, Fantasy Hoops fans, welcome to another deep dive.
That's right.
This time we're talking Week 14 in the Brooklyn Fantasy Basketball Association, or BFBA.
BFBA, yeah.
And today we're going to be looking at the Week 14 league update.
The official one.
To kind of get a sense of, where the league is at.
Yeah.
We're past the halfway point. Now the playoffs are coming up.
Playoffs are looming.
Rivalries are heating up.
Yes, they are.
So before we get into, the specific teams and all that, I do want to shout out
a
couple of things.
Let's hear it.
Just some good news from the league.
Feel good stories.
Jose from Shake and Bake 2.0 got married.
Congratulations.
So congrats to him and his partner.
Absolutely.
And Malcolm's team, the Nether Chosen Warriors, got their second win of the season.
Wow.
So
must feel good.
Yeah, they finally broke that losing streak.
It's a good feeling.
I mean, obviously statistically both of these teams are at the bottom of the standings.
Right.
So it's, unlikely they'll make the playoffs, but hey.
Miracles can happen.
Miracles can happen, you never know.
True that.
Speaking of things that are awesome,
yeah,
I want to give a shout out to all the new BFBA content that's been coming out this season.
There's been a lot.
There's a lot. So if you haven't checked it out yet,
get on it.
The Breakdown.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
It's the league's new web series, hosted by Janet Turner.
Love Janet.
Episode 3 just dropped, so make sure to watch that.
That's a good one.
And then also, the commissioner has his own podcast.
Yeah.
Conversations with the Commissioner.
That's right.
And he just interviewed Brad.
Oh, wow.
The owner of the Beaufort Bombers.
What a get.
Yeah. So that was a really interesting conversation.
For sure.
Okay, so let's move on to our team of the week.
Okay, who is it?
And for a remarkable...
dramatic pause.
5th time this season...
Wow.
It is BXB Mob, owned by Randy.
Randy's killing it this year.
BXBA Mob is the #1 seed right now. They are on an 8-game win streak.
I mean, their consistency is just off the charts.
They're good.
Yeah.
I mean, they're really good.
They're like a well-oiled machine. It's crazy.
Yeah, they're the team to beat, for sure.
Absolutely.
And, as we get closer to the playoffs, which start on March 24th, 2025.
Oh, yeah. That's coming up.
It's important to remember that only the top 8 teams will make the playoffs. So right now, the top 8.
Let's hear it.
In first place, tied for first, I should say.
Ooh, a tie at the top.
We have BXBA Mob with 11 wins and 2 losses.
Wow.
And Brooklyn Vikings Valhalla, owned by Donald, also with 11 and 2.
So both at the top.
So they are neck and neck.
A tight race.
Then in third place, we have the Evil Empire.
Classics.
Owned by Damien with 9 wins and 4 losses.
Not bad.
And then it gets interesting.
Oh, here we go.
We have a 4-way tie.
Wow.
For 4th place.
That's intense.
So all at 7 and 6.
All right, who are they?
We have Sham Gods, owned by Delonte.
Right.
South Korea Soul Brothers, owned by Felton. Beaufort Bombers, owned by Brad.
Right.
And 2 legit 2 quit, owned by Steven.
Wow, 4-way tie for 4th.
And then just outside the top 8...
on the bubble.
We have NY Mindset of Fighters, owned by Cedric.
So close.
Also with 7 and 6.
Oof, the pressure is on.
So the next few weeks are going to be really telling.
Yeah, for sure.
As to who's going to make the playoffs.
Absolutely.
Now let's get into some of the key matchups.
Okay, let's do it.
From last week, week 13.
All right.
One game that went down to the wire was Beaufort Bombers versus Sham Gods.
That's a good one.
Brad's team, the Beaufort Bombers, they narrowly defeated Delonte's Sham Gods.
How close was it?
1599.2 to 1590.1.
Oh, my goodness.
That's a nail-biter.
Yeah, it was a really close one.
Wow.
We also had a big upset.
Oh, tell me more.
The Nether Chosen Warriors, owned by Malcolm, defeated Valar Morghulis, owned by Valerie.
That's a surprise. So that was a big win for Malcolm.
Absolutely.
Maybe that'll give them some momentum going forward.
We'll see.
Who knows?
Yeah.
And then, of course, we can't forget about BXBA Mob.
Oh, yeah, Randy's team.
They dominated NY Mindset of Fighters.
Another one for Randy. Yeah. It was a tough loss for Cedric.
Oof.
But, BXBA Mob, they're just on a roll right now.
It's hard to stop them.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're the team to beat for sure.
So looking ahead to week 14.
Okay.
The projections.
Oh, projections.
Are in.
Yeah, I love projections.
And we could have a couple of upsets on the horizon.
Let's hear it.
First up, the DC Hustlers.
Okay.
Owned by Travis. They are currently on an 8-game losing streak.
Yikes.
They're projected to lose again this week,
Okay.
but this time they're playing the Sham Gods,
Who are coming off a loss.
who just lost.
Interesting.
So do you think the Hustlers can pull off an upset?
It's tough to say.
Yeah.
I mean, 8 games in a row. That's
a lot. That's a lot of losses.
Yeah. But you never know.
It's fantasy. Anything can happen.
Anything can happen.
Absolutely.
Another game to watch is Too Legit to Quit
Okay.
versus Valar Morghulis.
Interesting matchup.
This one's projected to be extremely close.
Oh, wow.
Like really close.
Nail biter.
Yeah. So that should be a fun one to watch.
Definitely.
And then finally we have BFBA Mob
Randy again.
going up against
Who are they playing?
the Brooklyn Stoop Kids.
Okay.
Owned by Holly.
Mm-hmm.
And BFBA Mob is projected to win this one pretty handily.
Makes sense.
But again, you never know.
You never know.
Upsets can happen.
True. Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's going to be an exciting week.
I'm ready for it.
Lots of intrigue and drama.
The best part of fantasy.
You know, as we get closer and closer to the playoffs.
Absolutely.
So
Buckle up, everybody.
buckle up.
It's going to be a wild ride.
Yeah.
Welcome back, folks. We're picking up our deep dive right where we left off. Remember that 4-way tie for 4th place?
Oh yeah, things are getting crowded down there.
Definitely. 5 teams fighting for those last 4 playoff spots.
It's anyone's game at this point.
Absolutely. So when you're looking at these teams' chances, what are some of the key factors you consider?
Well, strength of schedule is huge.
Of course, who do they have left to play?
Exactly. You don't want to be facing a team on a hot streak when you're trying to clinch a playoff berth.
Makes sense. But then again, couldn't a team lower in the standings pull off an upset and shake things up?
True. That's the beauty of fantasy. Anything can happen.
Absolutely. We've also got to look at individual player performance.
Right. Are there any players having a breakout season?
Exactly. Or are there injuries that could derail a team's momentum?
Yeah. A key player going down can totally change the game.
For sure. And what about trades?
Oh, yeah. The trade deadline's coming up.
Right. Could savvy owners make some moves to bolster their rosters for a playoff run?
Absolutely. And let's not forget about the waiver wire.
Oh, yeah. That's where the hidden gems are.
Exactly. Sometimes you find those breakout players who can make a big difference, especially late in the season.
For sure, savvy owners are always on the lookout.
Okay, so we've talked about the teams in the top 8, but I'm curious, are there any teams outside the playoff picture that you think have a shot at making a run?
You know, there are a couple of teams that have caught my eye.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Holly's Brooklyn Stoop Kids, for example.
They're right on the edge.
They are currently 7-6, just outside the playoff picture.
They've had some big wins this season.
They have. They've been a bit inconsistent, but they've also shown flashes of brilliance.
Right, and they seem to have a knack for pulling off upsets.
They do. If
Ah.
they can find some consistency and string together a few wins, they could definitely sneak into that 8th spot.
Interesting. What about Valerie's team, Valar Morghulis?
Another one to watch. They're currently 6-7.
Yeah, they've had their struggles.
They have. But remember, they have the highest free throw percentage in the league.
Right, free throws can win games.
Exactly. And their star player seems to be hitting his stride.
At the right time.
If he can keep up his current pace, they could be a dangerous team down the stretch.
So you've got the Stoop Kids and Valar Morghulis as your dark horse picks.
I'm definitely keeping a close eye on them.
Me too.
Yeah.
But let's not forget about the teams currently holding those playoff spots.
Oh, yeah. They're not going to give them up easily.
It's going to be a battle.
A fight to the finish.
All right, well, we've covered a lot of ground in this part,
We have.
but we'll be back in just a bit to wrap things up.
That's right.
And make some bold predictions about who we think will ultimately secure those coveted playoff spots.
Stay tuned, folks. It's going to be good.
All right, we are back for the final part of our BFBA deep dive. And, you know, we've talked about the news, we've talked about the playoff picture, we've even got some dark horse picks.
Yeah, we've covered a lot of ground.
So now I think it's time to put on, like, our
Prediction hats.
our analyst hats and, like, really try to,
Make some bold predictions.
like, who do we think
Who's going to win it all?
is gonna win the championship?
That's the big question, right?
Yeah.
It's tough to say.
What do you think?
I mean, you got to look at BXB Mob.
They're good.
Yeah, Randy's team.
Yeah.
I mean, their dominance so far, their consistency, the depth of their roster,
I mean, their average point differential's insane.
it's crazy. They're not just winning, they're winning big.
Yeah, but I don't know. I feel people keep sleeping on Brooklyn Vikings Valhalla.
Donald's team.
Yeah, they're tied for first.
True.
And their defense is, like,
That's their strong point for sure.
discernible.
They're like a brick wall.
Yeah, so what if, like, What if their defense can shut down BXB Mob's offense, like in a championship matchup?
Hmm. That's a good point. I hadn't really considered that.
That's a good point.
It would definitely be a battle of titans.
Right.
Two different styles clashing.
Exactly.
That's what makes it exciting.
Okay, so we've got this potential championship matchup, but, like, let's not forget about the rest of the playoff picture.
Oh, yeah. The fight for those remaining spots is going to be intense.
Especially with that four-way tie for fourth.
It's a tight race.
Yeah. So, of those teams in the tie, who do you think is looking the strongest right now?
You know, I'm really interested to see how the Beaufort Bombers perform.
Brad's team.
Yeah, they've been quietly climbing the standings.
Yeah, they have.
And their schedule looks pretty favorable down the stretch.
Yeah, and their free throw percentage is, like,
Top notch.
top notch.
Games are won and lost at the free throw line.
That's right. So you think they got a good shot at making the playoffs?
I do. I think they're a team to watch.
Okay.
Another team I think will make it is Galante's Sham Gods.
Really?
Yeah, they've had their ups and downs,
They have?
but they always seem to find a way to win when it matters most.
Yeah, but they're also very reliant on their star players.
That's true.
Like, what happens if one of them gets injured?
That could definitely derail their season.
Right.
It's a risk for sure.
Okay, so you're saying Beaufort Bombers and Sham Gods make it.
I think so.
So that leaves 2 spots left.
2 more spots, yeah.
Who are your picks for those?
For those final 2 spots, I'm going to go with Feltontown, South Korea's Soul Brothers
Okay.
and Stevens 2 legit 2 quit.
Okay.
The Soul Brothers have a really solid core group of players, and they've proven they can compete with the best.
Yeah, I can see that.
And 2 legit 2 quit. They're on a roll right now.
They're hot.
3 wins in a row. It seems like they're peaking at the right time.
All right, so that's your top 8.
That's my prediction.
But what about those dark horses we talked about earlier?
The Stu Kids and Valar Morghulis.
Yeah, do you think either of them has a chance?
It's going to be tough.
Yeah.
They both have the talent,
Yeah.
but it'll depend on a lot of things. You know,
Uh-huh.
their schedule's staying healthy, getting a little lucky.
Yeah, it's a long shot, but hey,
Anything can happen.
anything can happen.
That's the beauty of fantasy.
Well, this has been a really fun deep dive. I feel like we've really,
Broken down the league.
yeah, we've gotten a good sense of what's going on.
It's going to be an exciting finish to the season, that's for sure.
Yeah. And, you know, as always, we like to leave our listeners with something to think about.
A little food for thought.
Yeah. So we've talked about, you know, the top teams, the contenders, the dark horses, but what about those underdogs?
Ones nobody's expecting.
Yeah, the teams that are maybe flying under the radar right now, quietly building momentum.
It's a good reminder that in fantasy, anything is possible.
Exactly. You never know who's going to come out of nowhere and make a run.
So keep your eyes peeled, folks. The next big story could be just around the corner.
That's right. Well, thanks for joining us for another deep dive into the BFBA.
Always a pleasure.
We'll be back next week with another episode, so make sure you tune in to see how all the drama unfolds. Until then, keep those fantasy rosters humming, and may your matchups be ever in your favor.